Keys to success number 68. We're going to talk about brain fatigue today and how maybe it could set you back a little bit. And I'm Dr. Martin Rutherford, functional medicine doctor, chiropractor.
Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractor.
And for me, as many of you know, I've had a lot of these things, and as many of you may know, I've had several concussions. But even if you haven't had those concussions, once you have an autoimmune problem, once you have these fight-flight syndrome-ish perpetuating type of problems that you went through the program to learn how to dampen and reset, so to speak, your patterns your autoimmunity doesn't go away. Your patterns for these types of things that you came in with don't change. And all of those conditions create a chemical process that, in my mind, lowers your brain's threshold to be able to withstand stimulation. So your brain needs proper stimulation to do well. But if you overstimulate it, and a lot of patients come in here who are ill, who have been serious overstimulators before they got here, distance athletes, triathletes, people who work like crazy people, like 12 hours a day and that type of stuff. You found before that you had a metabolic capacity, that if you had a good day and you went out and tried to do all the things that you normally don't do because you're too tired, then you would crash for a day or two. Sometimes in your recovery, you may not realize that that metabolic capacity is still there. It should be significantly better than it was, as is mine. But I thought we would share the fact with you that if you do have that effect and you continue to ignore it, that could lead to fatigue. It could lead to tiredness, because in the end, your brain affects everything, as hopefully you understand by now. And if you fatigue the brain and if you inflame the brain, that can start altering other functions throughout your body. And that could be something that would lead to a call saying, hey, my fatigue is coming back, or my gut problem is coming back, as the brain and the gut have a significant factor. I think this is important because I think it's a challenge for active people, motivated people, social people, type A people, to modulate their activities afterwards. And I think that can be as important as the diet. I can tell you, I study a lot to try to keep up with all the things that this guy comes up with. And I used to be able to study for 5 or 6 hours in my day. Okay, I can only study now for about an hour and 10 minutes, and I can almost put a clock on it. And then I can't do it anymore. For those of you that I've consulted with, done reports with, done exams with, I can only do about 3 of those in a row. And then I need to take a break. What I do is I just simply will go into my office, close my door, close my eyes, and just either calm down, take a 10-minute nap, just meditate, if you will, whatever you want to call it, for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And that seems to reset my brain so that I can go on and do it again. If I don't do that, the next person that comes in, I don't feel like I do as good a job with them. Like, I may not be as articulate. I may not be able to express some of the complex explanations that I have repeated 1,000 times, because it's just, the brain is just not happening. And if I kept doing that, I would start to get fatigued in the long term, because I've done this. And so I don't run anymore. I walk. Okay. I used to jog. I love to jog. It just gives you that high. But I now I walk my little black doggy. It's running around here maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour a day. I don't do skiing anymore. I gave my skis away because that really, requires a lot of energy. I play golf and I walk, and I can walk 18 holes, and that's enough. So I think that it's an important concept, particularly those of you who are physically active or who read a lot or who sit in front of computers all day or have that type of a job, to understand how important it could be to your continued success to take first be aware of when that off button goes on, and then secondly, to take steps of either modifying to the degree that you can your daily activities or your extracurricular activities, and maybe if you can learn to do what I do, which is take a 10-minute break, 10-15-minute break, it's even possible, and sometimes it's not possible for me, then and just kind of sit there and close your eyes and let everything kind of just settle down, just stop using your brain essentially.
Mm-hmm. I think that pretty well says it. Comments? I mean, I agree.
That pretty well.
We've classically have seen patients who
anything like chemically that you want to share with them, or anything
yeah, we've classically
in addition
seen
to the
patients
results
who overstimulate themselves. We've seen that for eons, and so that's really what Dr. Rutherford is talking about. All of us have this, what we term metabolic capacity. Just think of it as your threshold before your body starts breaking down again. And for the fibromyalgia patients and the chronic fatigue patients who watch this broadcast, many of you know you get a good day, and what do? You do everything that you've been wanting to do. Well, the problem is that then you overdo it, and then you pay for it for the next 3 to 7 days, as we frequently hear back from many of you. So the idea is to pace yourself. That's what Dr. Rutherford is saying. He's demonstrating his ability to study, for example, for an hour and a half or an hour and 10 minutes, but not really much more than that. And if he does go longer than that, then his other cognitive symptoms from his concussions and his fibromyalgia will start to come back. So just being mindful of what you can and cannot do. You referred to the athletic endeavors. That's also really, really important, because many of our patients who come in here, even if you are a pre-existing athlete, we're finding that you have adrenal problems, you have autoimmune issues. And when you have those other aspects of your physiology that are no longer perfect, exercising for 3 hours straight can lots of times be pretty hard on the body and something that's not sustainable any longer. Now, we're not saying that's forever, but hopefully if you're a patient going through this and you're a triathlete, we can build you back up to where you were before. But it's going to take some time and effort. And so just being aware of where you're currently at is really important. So that's the general gist.
Yeah, and over-exercising is inflammatory.
Mm-hmm. It can be.
So it can set off a response. It can trigger a response. And just a few things that have happened over the last month or so here, a few people I've talked to seem to understand that when I discuss this with the patient in the beginning, when we're setting realistic expectations and what the future would look like, but that's thrown in with a lot of data at that point in time. And a lot of times it feels like people forget that. We say your threshold's going to still be there. It's going to be way better than when you started, but it's probably not going to be back to where you were when you were perfect, so to speak, or before you got sick. And so that's, and then that'll set you off, and then that'll get your symptoms back, as Dr. Gates just said, and then you need to call us, and then you call us and you go, hey, it's coming back. So, so that's one less thing that you'll need to have on your plate as far as triggering a response, if you can really embrace this concept.
Yeah, that pretty well says it.
Okay. All right. Keys to success.
68.
In the bag for today, number 68. We will see you next week.